our conversation with you, and the response is almost giving me more faith in humanity.
So I just want to clarify, I'm not a religious person. Sikhi to me is not a religion. Sikhi to me is a spiritual path. Now, psychedelic studies have proven that people that use psychedelics can meditate easier.
Okay, so do you consume cannabis then?
I do.
And some people would say that's wild, right? Some people would say that.
Some people would, yeah.
Like in the position that you're in, why are you doing drugs and why are you, I guess they would say promoting because they've only seen like a fraction of the clip.
The beautiful thing about Sikhi is there is no line. It's all gray area. There's no black and white. It's not a religion.
Are there people out there that would have their grandma in a hospital bed? You know, doctors saying, hey, we're going to be injecting her with opioid or morphine or whatever it is. Are there people in the Sikhi community that will say, hey, this is mind altering. Don't put that in my grandma?
Our bodies are Gurdwara. My body is my Gurdwara. Your body is your Gurdwara. But the nature is also a Gurdwara. The forest is also a Gurdwara. These are temples because God is within us. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says this. You guys are arguing like a bunch of fools. Which is flesh and which is vegetable and which one does not have life in it? People have always been taught, and this is a form of conditioning in society, that these are illegal substances, mind-altering intoxicants. That's where the fear comes from. You're also seeing that there's people that are addicted to other things like white processed sugar or cha, and they can't get off of it, and it might even be affecting their health.
100%, especially if they're adding a lot of sugar in the chop. You know who Paul Stamets is? He essentially got a bag of mushrooms. He got on top of the tree, and now he's in the peak of his trip, and he's just holding on to the tree for dear life, and he just said, stop stuttering.
Oh, stop stuttering now. Stop stuttering now.
And since that day, as a teenager, there's no stutter. Do you think water is alive?
I do.
Because it's not breathing.
How do you know it's not breathing?
Do you think Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he was obviously very enlightened. Do you think he took any sort of psychedelics?
I think...
Whew. That's deep, as I said last time. All right, welcome back to another episode of Limelight. First time ever, we're bringing somebody back, and we're bringing somebody back quick. Raj from Sikhdelic Healing. Last time I just called you Sikhadelics this whole time. Sikhdelic Healing. Do you want me to give your TikTok username too this time?
No, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, you can if you want.
Yeah, and then you have a TikTok username. Yo, that's Sikh.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Sikh like S-I-C-K, but S-I-C-K-H. So very... you like plays on words with your usernames, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially in relation to Sikhi.
Yeah.
So the reason we brought you back on, it was very obvious that a lot of people had more questions, clarifying questions, judgments, and beyond. And a lot of support too. A lot more support than I ever thought we would ever see for a topic like this. There's a lot of things in society these days that make me feel like I'm losing faith in humanity. Our conversation with you, and the response is actually almost giving me more faith in humanity, that people are much more open in our Punjabi Sikh community to some of the things that you were talking about, and some of the things that Harmol has felt his whole life regarding religion, or lack thereof, calling it religion. How did you feel the response that we got from the podcast? Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, a lot of people resonated with it, and there's obviously people that don't, and that's natural. There's always people. I mentioned in the podcast that we're all entitled to our own perceptions, and everybody has their own perceptions, and it's usually not wrong. What you believe is kind of what you manifest. So if somebody is very strong in their beliefs, and that's working for them, that's great. If it's not, then obviously there's something to reconsider there.
Yeah, so let's start off with let's go back to the conversation around Sikhi. And I think before we even go into that, actually, I want to clarify, again, we said it in the last podcast, I will say it again here. We do not condone the use of any sort of substance without approval from your doctor and things like that. We want a world where natural medicine, plant medicine is legal in the way that is Advil or morphine or a lot of other very highly addictive and dangerous substances that seem to be more profitable. We'd like to see psychedelics and the whole world of psychedelics be available to people who need them legally. Secondly, people that have watched this podcast now or a few episodes, I also want to say, like, me personally, I have only ever tried psilocybin. I have never tried anything else at this point. I'm open to it, and I will, I'm sure, one day try different things, but I can count on my hands how many times I've had psychedelic experiences. And that's kind of the point, is one experience can be so profound that you never need to like touch any of that stuff again. And even if one isn't all you do, and you do it more than that, it will still send you, like it sent me on a path towards these kind of conversations that I probably would have been way less comfortable having. That kind of leads to the Sikhi thing. There's a lot of people that are saying a lot of things.
I think the major one that I've seen with a lot of people is saying the drug aspect, and that if you're like in the position that you're in, why are you doing drugs, and why are you, I guess they would say promoting, because they've only seen like a fraction of the clip. Like we just did this whole thing before, but they take a fraction of a clip and they essentially say drugs aren't allowed in Sikhi. Why is this guy saying this? So do you have like any thoughts, or you want to clarify more on that?
We do not condone any kind of usage of substances, drugs for recreational use. What we are doing is we're using plant medicine to help people heal from depression, anxiety, OCD, other types of mental illnesses that people are struggling with, addiction. There's so many, the list goes on and on and on, and everybody's aware of them. But that's what we're using the plant medicine for. It's not something that you keep doing over and over and over again. So people are assuming, like you said, based on the clip, that we're promoting this, but we're not promoting recreational use. What we're doing is talking about how it should be legalized and allowed, and how people are using it for healing purposes. And if somebody is able to get better, if somebody is able to conquer their depression or anxiety with the use of this plant or this medicine, then I think that's a great thing.
Question for you. So is there people that are Sikhi? And, I assume the answer has to be yes, but are there people out there that would have their grandma in a hospital bed, that are, doctors saying, hey, we're going to have to give, I don't think doctors even ask, but let's just say they had an option to say, hey, your, grandmother is in severe pain. We're going to be injecting her with ABC, opioid or morphine or whatever it is. Are there people in the Sikhi community that will say, hey, this is mind altering, this is that, it's intoxicant, it shouldn't be, don't put that in my grandma?
I've never seen or heard of it myself. I'm sure there might be somebody out there who feels that way, but I don't think I've ever heard of anybody doing that or saying that. So let's talk about mind altering. I'm not a neurologist, but I've done my due diligence and read and researched, and from my own experiences, what I've seen from working with people, what happens, what is mind altering? So mind altering is actually the release of chemicals in the mind, which happens from everything. So you can drink water, your mind's going to release chemicals. It's going to alter your mind. You can eat food. And this is true. You can go and do the research yourself. So I was going to mention that. So what's the biggest?
I have sugar, bro.
What's the biggest crisis right now?
Obesity.
Health crisis. One of them.
One of them, yeah.
The biggest health crisis out there right now is white processed sugar addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if we want to talk about mind altering substance, there's nothing out there that's going to alter your mind more than white processed sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's addicting.
It's made to be addictive.
Not to mention coffee, cha. Okay, if we want to talk about mind altering substance, phones, every single thing alters your mind because you're releasing chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, all the feel good and feel bad chemicals. So what substances, what people will say are intoxicants, they might release a little bit more, but that's not in every case, because somebody could have a high tolerance and their mind might release more chemicals with the use of something like white sugar than it would if he was to use cannabis or if she was to use cannabis. It's not like there's no guarantee that somebody's going to have the same effect as somebody else.
Well, I want to acknowledge, I mean, having white processed sugar and having a psychedelic, especially at a therapeutic dose, obviously there is a difference.
Yes.
Okay, there is a difference of levels to the mind altering. The question here becomes, where does that line lie? It does make you think, though. When I was getting my last haircut, I was talking about how I stopped using Instagram and social media, and I downloaded it back on my phone again for the reason of this podcast. I've always kind of had to, you kind of have to be a little bit online when you have a podcast, and it's literally posted on social media. However, that said, I've been more conscious of it significantly. And when, I was talking to my barber about it, and he was saying like, yeah, sometimes I'm scrolling and then I catch myself, and then I'm like, oh man, let me turn this off. I don't want to be scrolling mindlessly, right? And I was like, if we cut this conversation and we put it out of context, like if we didn't mention that we're talking about social media, and it would be like we're talking about like a very addictive substance. It's like, oh man, I had to put it down. I had to put the bottle down. I had to put the cigarettes down. And honestly, social media is by design, again, designed to hook you, addict you. And when we are watching anything, we are trying to escape from reality, right? We're escaping from whatever it is that was bothering us. So when you sit there and watch a movie, or you sit there and watch even a hockey game, you might have had a really stressful day, you might have had a really bad day, something bad just happened. That's one moment that you can, escape. To your point, it's similar in the sense that you are having mind-altering and a mind-altering experience. But again, people are going to hear that and go, shut up. That is completely different. Get out of here. You're way off. But I agree with you. Yeah.
I'll give a better example. Okay. The last time I used cannabis, I don't remember. It's been over, I would say 40 days now, maybe 50 days. I don't even remember. It's been a long time, and I don't keep count because I don't use it regularly. But let's talk about cha. Your parents probably drink cha. My mom does. I've asked my mom, don't drink cha today. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Mera sar dukhan lag
Yeah.
gayi. This will
Literally my
happen.
hands
That
in
will
her-
happen. Okay. So
There's
now,
multiple times in the day too. That's another thing.
so now that means it's addictive.
yeah.
Well, it
they,
is.
They can't stop drinking it. And this will go for all brown parents.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stop drinking cha because they're addicted to it.
Yeah.
So it might not be altering their mind to the extent of a psychedelic experience or whatever, but it's addictive. They can't stop it now. So it's kind of like, okay, you can take this mind-altering psychedelic to help yourself heal from depression. And then you're also seeing that there's people that are addicted to other things like white processed sugar or cha or coffee, and they can't get off of it. And it might even be affecting their health. We
100%,
don't know.
especially if they're
Yeah.
adding a lot of sugar
Yeah.
in the cha.
Yeah.
So you're putting both
And
together.
coffee.
Your
Right.
coffee,
and,
yeah.
and if it depends how many they're having a day. If you're having 5 cups of coffee a day or 5 or
Yeah.
3 cups of cha a day, like that's can't be good for you. Especially if you're just having it and sitting around or just doing housework and just not really being active. So there's always gonna be some sort of health detrimental factor. Once again, I want to clarify that I personally never used psychedelics for meditation or to enhance my meditation. I started meditating long before I started doing any of this type of work.
Yeah.
But for somebody who has troubles meditating, studies have shown
Mm-hmm.
promising results that they'll have an easier time meditating after the use of psychedelics than they did before. So if a person cannot meditate, cannot focus, for example, somebody with ADHD, they can use psychedelics to help their ADHD, sometimes even cure it. And people also have used psychedelics to cure depression, anxiety. I've worked with people with OCD who have seen very promising results. So it's again, we're using it to help somebody defeat addiction or beat, mental health issues that they're struggling with. So it's not recreational. So if your mom wants to stop drinking cha, possibly we can help her.
So first of all, the other main difference is, yes, with psychedelics, one dose can be all it is. If you have what some would call a bad trip, what we would call reality hitting you in the face, and maybe you needing something from the universe to tell you something, but if you choose to see it as just, wow, that thing was horrible, well, guess what? You don't have to ever do it again. Whereas the reason why I personally have never touched, and to be clear, I have never touched anything of other than alcohol and cannabis and psilocybin mushrooms in my life. I smoked like a couple puffs of a cigarette and a vape one time to appease a friend on his bachelor stag, because he's like, you never vape, just take one. I'm like, oh, sure, just because it's your wedding. But still, my point is, the reason why is because I'm like, oh my God, if I take one hit of that, whatever it is, I'm going to never stop. Okay? Alcohol is never really my favorite thing anyways. Hangover and everything else kind of kept me from not wanting to do it often. But when it comes to like cannabis, it is addictive, because just like in the other way, in anything, watching movies is addictive. And you could smoke enough weed and mess yourself up. Absolutely. But I did my research and I was like, okay, it's not really addictive, and there's not much danger in it. I'll try it. And that's kind of what led me on the path of trying it, which, by the way, for right now in this moment, 2026, I haven't touched it, just to take another tolerance break, which I take all the time. If I tried some other substance, like any other substance I looked at, I'm like, first of all, everyone I know that does this substance, and that could be anything you want to imagine, right? They're usually hooked on it. And that includes vaping and cigarettes and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not touching it. I did the research on psilocybin. It is borderline impossible to be addicted to. And like we've talked about, it's probably the opposite effect you're going to have. Can you verify these claims I'm talking about and comparing it to other substances, or do you have any thoughts about that? But that's why I haven't touched all the other substances, even growing up. Just too scared, because life is already good enough for me. And some people are scared of that with psychedelics too, right? Dude, you know what lion's mane mushrooms are? They're not psychedelic. They help with cognitive function. I've been taking them consistently since August last year. I've noticed a great deal of benefit for myself. No psychedelic in it. And I was talking about it with a friend, and she goes, does it really work for you? Oh yeah, I'm scared of getting like relying on it, And I'm just like, you got a coffee in your hand, you got a drink in this hand, and whatever other stuff that you're addicted to.
You take a Tylenol whenever your head hurts. Yeah,
so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with my statements on that? I know you've tried other stuff. We can cut that over the years. But I am too scared to. So yeah, any thoughts on your side?
Actually, I'll let you know I haven't
You
tried
haven't?
other stuff. So I was also very safe, and I learned a lot from watching other people around me use substances, and there was also a code that I lived by. So yeah, I never did.
Even when you were younger?
Yeah, even when I was younger, it was just cannabis and mushrooms and alcohol. But yeah, when I wasn't a Singh, I tried a cigarette or whatever, but it was gross. It was disgusting. So I never touched it again. I was just like, I don't understand how people do this, because this is so gross. Yeah, so to clarify, I never have. But I understand what you're saying about the fear of these things and how people can. So going back to the podcast, the episode we did before, we talked about how I had a teacher come into my school when I was in high school, and they kind of classified all these drugs, and psychedelics were classified in this range of illegal drugs. So that's where the fear comes from. People have always been taught, and this is a form of conditioning, society, that these are illegal substances, mind-altering intoxicants, and that's where the fear comes from. And I mentioned to you before that the person was explaining to us how psilocybin is poisonous, and it's a poison that actually goes, but it's not enough to kill you, but it alters your mind and makes you hallucinate and do all these things. And, you know, now after all the studies and all the research I've done, I realized that what he was calling poison is actually DMT, which our brain produces naturally. And so do these other conscious plants and beings and medicines, they create it as well. So psilocybin creates a DMT, and so does ayahuasca and all these other medicines. Going back to what you were saying, though, the fear comes from, this is one reason that the fear comes from. And I understand how people can have a fear of, oh, these guys are talking about psychedelics, and if they try this, they might try something else. But that's a trauma-based fear coming from within, internally from us. We already mentioned, and people will just take a clip and they'll react based on their fear. They won't even listen to the whole podcast. They're just seeing a small clip where they're saying, where we're talking about psychedelics, and they'll react and they'll comment that this is wrong. And, you know, if kids hear this, they'll be, drawn to try other things. But we're not saying that at all. What we're saying is we're using psychedelics to actually help people who are struggling with addiction to other substances. We're using psychedelics to help people. We're not condoning recreational use of not only psychedelics, but of any substance.
Yeah, I think it's also important to share, though, that in the same way and in any situation, if you personally are not really wanting to make that change in your life, and you mentioned addiction, and you're trying to beat an addiction of some sort, or you're trying to be less anxious, maybe whatever it is, you want to feel less depressed, especially with addiction, though, right? You have to want it, okay? The last psilocybin experience I had, I went into it with intention of, I want to change how my relationship with food, which includes my addiction to sugar. When we first sat down, which was well before the podcast officially aired, that was about my week 2 of me not having any sugar, processed sugar. I mean, again, 1 spoonful of something, if someone's having some dessert and I take a little bite or just to taste it, that's what I've done. But otherwise, I've not taken like any processed sugar at all. And but I was even deeper than that, like just like, okay, eating till when I'm full rather than just eating because I love the taste of it and things like that. That was what my main intention was going into it. Okay. And I do have like an addiction with loving to eat food. Okay. Like I could definitely be slimmer if I just ate less. Right. And so I went into it with that intention. And although that whole trip, nothing about food came up, and it was being with myself, it wasn't with a shaman or someone that was facilitating the experience. However, since that experience, which like we've talked about, a psilocybin experience can have your brain still processing and benefiting from that 1 dose for up to 6 months, according to research, could be even longer. We don't know yet. And although it has not been 6 months since that last trip, I have not had the sugar since right around that same time. And eating wise, I've been more conscious of it. And I think the same thing applies, except obviously it can be more difficult depending on what type of substance you're trying to beat and stop your addiction with. But if you go into it with that intention strongly, you may walk away with that 1 dose, not looking back. If you walk in even 1%, not like you're 99% confident and wanting to do it, but there's still 1% of you that isn't all in on making that change, psilocybin will help you maybe put the mirror up and help you maybe understand, or psychedelics, I should say, not just psilocybin. Because I think psilocybin isn't the number 1 psychedelic for helping with addiction. I think it's ibogaine. Do you know about ibogaine much?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that true? That's what I've heard.
Well, yeah, it's different, and it does different things, but that's definitely the choice for facilitators to use for addiction.
But if you aren't all in on that, I think that the same thing applies if you go into any sort of recovery program. If you get forced into a recovery program or you get forced into making changes in your life, if you don't want to make those changes, unfortunately, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's a hospital program or a recovery program, it just sadly won't work, right? I think that's important to acknowledge, right?
Absolutely. It's very important to acknowledge any change that anybody wants to make has to be 100% from their mind, body, and soul connection. Like they have to be fully that telling themselves that they want to change, but not only telling themselves, they have to believe it. Like you mentioned, you have to fully be present and mindful about your choice consciously, that you understand that you need to make a change. And once again, we'll mention psychedelics aren't the only form of therapy. So I'm not telling anybody to do psychedelics. It's just an option. There's lots of other options, and we discussed this on the last podcast as well.
Totally.
So many different forms of therapy available out there.
Don't do nothing is what you said.
Don't do nothing.
Do something.
Do something.
Yeah.
Whether it's somatic exercises, yoga, whether it's talk therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, anything, coaching, anything that will help you become a better version of yourselves, help you overcome something that you're struggling with. Do something.
You know who Paul Stamets is?
No.
Okay, well, he's one of the most notable people in the mushroom space.
Okay.
He's like Mr. Mushroom, basically. And he's very well known now around the world and a big advocate for psychedelics and non-psychedelic mushrooms as well. And he shares his story of him being since he was a kid, he had a very severe stutter. And to the point where, it would only, and if you have a stutter, it flares up when the anxiety's kicking in, right? Or you're getting nervous. So, stage fright type of thing. And so, there was a girl that he liked in like middle school and he wanted to, talk to her. And every time that he tried to talk to her, obviously they would go to the extreme stutter, and it would just, obviously he became the laughing stock of that, like the school, right? Or at least to him, it felt like that. And he was just like really depressed. And he was in his teens. And this is years, Paul Stamets is probably 50 to 60 years now. So when he was a teenager, it was many moons ago. And he essentially got a bag of mushrooms, decided to try it one day. And he didn't go into it with any therapy mindset or anything. He kind of was just like, hippie time. It was probably around that time where people were doing them. So, and he probably didn't have any friends to do it with. So he took some mushrooms. He still doesn't know to this day how much he took, but the bag that was given to him was a big bag. So the estimated amount is 8 to 15 grams that he took at one time. For the record, I've never taken more than 3.5, and that was already pretty strong. And 5 is a heroic dose. Anything more than that, you're really, really taking a large. You can't overdose necessarily, but you can really, reach crazy amount, right? So then he just ate them and went for a walk to the local park or local neighborhood that he lives in. He walked to a tree, and that there was a tree that he would climb up and sit on the top of, and he would do that all the time. So it was nothing random for him. So he's starting to trip out. I guess he didn't really fully realize, but he goes up to the top of this tree, and this is his story, and you can go. We'll link it in the description if you want to actually listen to his story of it. He got on top of the tree, and then all of a sudden, rain, it got cloudy and rain started happening. And now he's in the peak of his trip, and he's just, what is going on? He's holding on to the tree for dear life. And it starts to storm, and he's like, oh my God. And maybe part of it he was hallucinating, and maybe there wasn't a storm, but it was rain. And he just stood there holding onto the tree, rocking back and forth. And he was just like, I want to stop stuttering. And he just said, stop stuttering, stop stuttering, stop stuttering for an hour straight. I get goosebumps just listening, thinking about the story, but he did that. And he said that he was scared, but he was also I don't care about anything else. I just want to stop stuttering. And he came down the tree, he came down from that trip, maybe got home and was like, okay, whatever. And since that day, as a teenager, he has still stutters here and there. But if you listen to him on that podcast, there's no stutter. And the stutter, again, in extreme situations can come out, but it's maybe 10% of what it was. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but even for me, again, like that's where that was what inspired me, where I was like, I'm going to go into this with intention of like, you know, I also grind my teeth when I sleep. And I was like, grinding my teeth when I sleep, the dentist has given me the thing that you put in your mouth. And I'm like, this is just so uncomfortable and makes me clench my jaw even more because there's less space. So you're clenching no matter what. And I'm like, I know that I'm grinding my teeth because of some sort of stress in my life or some sort of something's causing it. I'm sure you would agree. It's not because, you know, the solution isn't just to give me the Band-Aid solution. So I also thought about that in my psychedelic trip where I was like, can I stop grinding my teeth and stuff too? But yeah, what are your thoughts on that whole story? Have you, you believe that to be true? And have you seen similar instances for people to go through with the experience of psilocybin or psychedelics?
Absolutely. I don't think that's abnormal.
Wow.
It's not far-fetched. It's very something that can be come within grasp with the use of psychedelics. So it's not something that I find abnormal. And even with the teeth grinding thing, that's a little bit different. That's something more to do with what's going on internally, and it can change from day to day, right? So you might not be grinding your teeth every day. You might be grinding them 3 times a week or 4 times a week or only once a week. It just depends on your day, but that goes deeper into something else that we can talk about, you know, on a personal level if you ever care to. But
You've dealt with people that talk to you about this specific topic?
not specific topic, but
Okay.
yeah, similar stuff.
Yeah. But again, healthcare system is built for Band-Aid solutions.
Yes.
You know how profitable those mouth cards are? They
Yeah.
got to scan my mouth. They got to get that plat.
The scan itself costs a lot of money.
The scan itself is like $1,000.
Yeah.
And then they give you the cast of your teeth or whatever, and then all this stuff. Now, again, I will say my dentist is doing me a solid by giving me this because it's worse to grind your teeth.
Yeah, of course.
So there is, like, I like my dentist. Okay, don't screw me over if you watch this.
So I want to bring up like how you guys mentioned that there's so many resources out there now compared to before, and I'll touch on like one like service that you help with. Like you said PTSD, you brought that up. Like people back in the day that fought in the wars and whatnot, and then we've gone through PTSD during that time very early on. There's no resources. They were giving pharmaceuticals to kind of suppress everything and not deal with it, right? And they're kind of just like made to be zombies, and then they got hooked onto other substances, and the substance abuse became heavy. Now there's so many more resources, and you've spoken about treating people with PTSD. Is there anything you like to speak on how you guys go about that, or like what kind of experiences they feel?
Well, usually it's all trauma based, right? So there's a lot of different modalities that I use, wide range from like counseling, psychotherapy, and then a lot of the stuff that I do is actually intuitive. So I have to really sit with each individual person that I work with and kind of intuitively design their form of therapy, what they need, what's going to help them. So different people, I'll use the phrase different strokes for different folks type of thing, right? So different things work for different people, and not everybody is the same. So there's not one model that works for everybody. It has to be different for everybody. So if you're speaking specifically about PTSD, it's usually linked to something from the past, and we'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it by definition is, right? It's post
Yes.
something,
Yes.
right?
Well, yeah.
Post.
Yeah. So it happens
traumatic
after.
Mhm.
Yeah.
an
That's
experience.
And even we talked about Amrita about this, that it could not even have been you. It could be passed down from
Which you
your-
mentioned too.
Yeah.
Intergenerational
It goes
Yeah.
trauma.
from- Yeah.
Yeah. But that wouldn't be PTSD. But yeah, definitely somebody can get
Mhm.
a form of depression
Yeah.
from intergenerational trauma.
So back to the whole, some people that are Sikhi and Punjabi will say, there's this medicine is okay. This is not medicine. This is a drug, a recreational drug.
So people are just saying like, where's the line? I guess, or people saying like,
Well, you
'cause-
talked about
yeah, you kind of
this.
talked
You
about
said this
that,
last
yeah.
time. Is like, okay, who makes these rules,
Yeah.
right? And like, when did these rules become?
And then everyone has
but
their own
people are
interpretations of what they
very-
read.
People are very emotional about this topic, right? People get charged up and emotional around this topic.
So
Why do you think that is? And do you think that's going to change?
I feel people get triggered based on fears, because there's fears that this will open up something that can affect them personally or their family. But if we actually listen to Gurbani and we listen to what the gurus are saying, everything is within the divine will. Everything is hukum. And when we understand that, then we can actually fully surrender. And by surrender, I don't mean like I'm giving up. I mean, come in alignment and understand that every single thing is happening by design. So we talked last time a little bit about free will, and you mentioned you don't believe in free will. So there is a deeper understanding of free will and how it's interconnected with divine will. And that goes deep. So there's really no fine line. The beautiful thing about Sikhi is there is no line. It's all gray area. There's no black and white. It's not a religion.
So yeah,
For me.
yeah, you've already yeah. But like that's the biggest thing, the gray area.
So many
the
people
gray
agree with
area.
you.
Everyone's making it black and white though. That's why like everyone's saying like drugs are bad, this is fine, this is bad, this is good. Like that's the biggest thing. I think the number one answer is it's all a
Okay.
gray area.
So going back to what you just said, the term drugs.
Yeah.
I don't believe plant medicine is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
I believe what's created in a laboratory
That's a drug.
is a
yeah.
drug. So people will call plants drugs because they're mind altering. But we'll go back to what we spoke about earlier, where everything is mind altering. If you give a person in the desert who's very thirsty and dehydrated, needs water, go give him a glass of water, and his mind will release so many chemicals. He can possibly have a hallucination after he drinks that glass of water, just because it's something his body needs, is requiring. So everything, every experience is mind altering. Your cell phone, which every single person uses, is mind altering. And going back to Sikhi not being a religion, I think a lot of people, they think that the word dharma, which Guru will say dharma or dharma, dharma translates to religion, but it doesn't. So what dharma actually, it's a Sanskrit word, and what it translates to is a discipline or code of ethics and conduct which lead to fulfillment. So a religion can fall into that. A religion can be a dharma, but so can, in India, there's castes. So there's one caste called Kshatriya, and this is mentioned in Gurbani and our history. Kshatriya can also be dharma, so that's the way of the warrior. So a warrior living the life of a warrior within his own discipline and his own code of conduct can reach fulfillment. Also, a mother, being a mother can also be a dharma. A mother can reach fulfillment, raising children, sustaining them, raising them, loving them. She can reach fulfillment and a sense of contentment. Now, people who believe it's a religion, if they're getting triggered and they have all these fears, then maybe it's time to reconsider, are you fulfilled with your practice?
You're not if you're acting that way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't say that you are, you're not, but
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it seems like a person is not content if they're being triggered or if they have these fears, because when a person is content, you usually don't show those signs.
So, a couple things. You mentioned discipline. There are people that will say you are not disciplined based on you are, psychedelics. Well, you said that you can take psychedelics, you can meditate and achieve the same heights without psychedelics. And I understand your point for people that do not have the ability to yet meditate, but you do have the ability to. I'm giving you devil's advocate view, and something that I have heard since the release of our podcast with you is no, Sikhi is about discipline, and that is what Sikhi is about. And even if you don't want to call it a religion, don't, but it's discipline. And you, which if I'm saying you because you're the person we're talking to, are not disciplined, because you should be finding spirituality, all these heights without the use of cannabis, without the use of psychedelics. What is your response to that?
My response to that is I actually got into Sikhi without the use of any substances or intoxicants. I meditated
So then,
and still do
okay.
without the use of psychedelics or anything. Going back to discipline, yes, everything, going back to dharma, just not Sikhi, dharma is a code of discipline. So, and everybody has different disciplines. So this is where people with a religious mindset will believe that, oh, every single person has to have the same discipline, but that's not the case. Because when you are learning, everybody learns differently. Some people learn more from listening. Some people learn more from actually practicing. So if a person who can listen and learn, they're going to focus more on listening. That's going to be their discipline. But a person who has to actually practice what they're hearing to fully understand and grasp what they're listening to, they're not going to just be listening. They're going to be going out. They're going to be putting to practice what they're listening to see if it actually works for them. So there's different forms of discipline. I'll give you an example. Going back to Kurukshetra, meditation. So meditation isn't just sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed. There's different forms of meditation. I believe what meditation is actually focus. I ride a motorcycle. So when I'm riding my motorcycle, I'm in a meditation because I'm in the zone. I'm fully in the zone. Like
Flow state?
Full flow state. So when I'm meditating, going into deep meditation, then I'm sitting cross-legged, lotus position, spine straight, eyes closed, and I'm going into deep meditation. That's a different type of meditation. Now, anything that you focus on can be a meditation. So an artist, for example, who is painting, they go into meditation while they're painting. That's their form of meditation. A person who practices martial arts. Okay, I have Singhs who practice Shastra Vidya, which is a Sikh martial art. Okay, they wake up every day, which is Amrit Vela, few hours before sunrise, and they practice their martial arts. That's their form of meditation. They don't sit down cross-legged and chant or go into deep meditation. Their meditation is practicing their form of art, which is Shastra Vidya. Going back to any martial artist, somebody who's a master of jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, kung fu, anything, they will meditate during their practice. So meditation isn't just one type of discipline. It could be different ways. So everybody has a different discipline. It's not one way works for all. That's the religious view of what discipline is, but that's not what discipline actually is. Because I'll wake up in the morning and I might do 13 parts. But according to the Rahat Maryada, it's only 5 parts that you have to do in the morning. So why do I need to do 13? That's my discipline. Nobody else, I'm not telling anybody else to do that. I don't think anybody else should do that. If do what works for you and do what makes you happy and what fulfills you. If it's not fulfilling you, then it's time to reconsider what we're doing.
You have people have mentioned you have tattoos,
Yeah.
and for me it's an expression of art. I don't really care, but other people
Do you have
online
tattoos?
No.
Are you gonna get tattoos?
I don't know. I want to get jacked more. I'm a little too skinny for tattoos, and I think it'll hurt too much. And then people have mentioned like you have jewelry, like you have rings, right? Like, can you talk about that? Like, what? Like, people are like, oh, you look that way. I've seen someone mention it, and then but they're saying like, why do you have these kind of things if you have the 5Ks, right? Do you have like these additional things, right? Like, so can you speak a little bit more on that if you're okay to speak on that?
Yeah, of course. So going back to the religious viewpoint,
He's like giving the same
everything is wrong or a sin,
Yeah.
right? People judge. Religious people will judge.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't believe Sikhi is a religion, because I don't think Sikhs judge.
Should
But
judge.
should judge, yeah.
Guru Nanak Dev Ji did not judge.
Yes. And majority of my tattoos I got before I became a Singh. This whole sleeve was done before I became a Singh.
Mm-hmm.
And rings, our gurus wore rings. There's actually a story of Guru Tegh Bahadur when they went to Assam, which is northeastern India. So before Guru Gobind Singh Ji was born, they went to Assam, and there was 3 kings that lived in this area. And this is the time when the Mughals were kind of taking over. And these 3 kings in that area, 2 of them were fighting amongst themselves. The third one was trying to be the middleman. And he basically was like, if all 3 of us don't come together, the Mughals are going to crush us. The middleman who was trying to be the mediator, he heard that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was in the area. So Guru Tegh Bahadur went and tried to, not tried to, he went to Guru Tegh Bahadur and was like, kind of like, I need your help to make these 2 idiots kind of see eye to eye, otherwise the Mughals are going to crush us. And so long story short, one of the kings couldn't have a child. And Guru Tegh Bahadur, they went to Guru Tegh Bahadur and they did a ardas and asked, blessed them with a child. Guru Tegh Bahadur touched his forehead with his ring. And this is written in our history, the same history that talks about like the Guru's kids and all the odysseys and everything that the Gurus have done, all the wars they fought. So the same history that's written in Guru, and there's pictures too that you can see the Gurus wearing rings and jewelry and stuff in. So Guru Tegh Bahadur touched the king's head with his ring. The baby was born. They had a son. The son was born. He had a mark on his forehead. It was like a scar or a birthmark. And he always wondered what happened. He couldn't remember, did I fall on my face when I was a kid? So when his dad passed away, he became king or prince, and he eventually went up to his mom and asked, like, hey, Mom, what happened to my face? Like, what is this? Where did this come from? I don't remember ever falling on my face. And his mom explained to him that we couldn't have a child. Your father went and did ardas to Guru Tegh Bahadur, and he touched your dad's forehead with his ring and said that your child will be born with this mark. So that's how you got that mark. And then he's like, who is this Guru? I want to meet this Guru. So now Guru Tegh Bahadur had already become Shaheed, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji was the Guru. So that king actually took gifts for Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So he took this, because Guru Gobind Singh Ji used to be in tents at that time. I don't think Anandpur Sahib was made yet, but he took a tent made of like jewels, gold, rubies, like a tent where it's like hundreds of thousands. He also took a Panj Kala Shastra, which means that it was like 5 weapons combined into one. So it was like a crossbow, a pistol. It also turned into a sword and something else. But there's 5 weapons in one, basically. He took these gifts for Guru Gobind Singh Ji and went to go meet Guru Gobind Singh Ji in honor of his father who did this ardas. And because of that, this child was born. This is our history. So that's, the significance of a ring that the Guru wore.
But
And
what's the rule? I never knew there was a rule about jewelry. To be honest, the first time
No, I'm just saying.
No.
I'm not saying it's a rule.
No,
yeah.
somebody said it. I saw.
Yeah.
But what is that reason? Like, why are people so against? I didn't know that jewelry.
Or
I didn't
even,
even
like,
know until Mindy told me that you
people
can't
have
do
told me.
bhangra. Dancing
Yeah.
is
And
bad.
Okay, I don't know if this is true or not. People always said to me, if you have a gold kara, it's bad. Like,
so
having like gold is bad in general. Like, or like having anything like a kara gold is bad.
so there's always going to be people with their
Interpretation.
not even
Yeah.
interpretations, but with their beliefs.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people believe that you shouldn't wear jewelry. Some
Mhm.
people believe that you shouldn't even wear fancy clothes.
Yeah.
Some people believe that you should be as simple as possible. You shouldn't wear anything, except for a kara, and that's it. And you know what? For those people, if they're happy and they're fulfilled doing that, great. Keep it up. Good work. Let people do what they want to do because there are no rules.
No, but
when it
there,
comes to
but
that.
like, there must be something that is universal that you're not supposed to wear jewelry, right? There's
No.
something.
No.
Like it's just hearsay. People just say that.
Yeah, it's just beliefs. It's just personal beliefs.
And then the same thing goes for dancing and stuff too. Apparently,
yeah,
dancing.
yeah.
Because there are some that do, some don't. I've
Yeah.
literally seen that.
Well,
both.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
yeah. So can you touch me and bless me with your ring right now then, or what? Why do you wear rings then? Just it's a form of expression, gives you fulfillment.
No, there's a few different reasons, but yeah, let's just say that there's some sort of connection there.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you've worn rings before before you became
Yes.
a Singh, as you would say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because and I'm not a big jewelry guy. I'm a pretty simple guy, so I guess that's fulfillment for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, if it's working for you,
But some people will
great.
say I'm more of a Singh than you. Then
Yeah.
if
No,
this was a competition.
no, they didn't wear Apple Watches back
Oh
then. So yeah.
no. Were you gonna say
I
something?
was gonna ask. Obviously, your history so expands and like just all these great like stories and everything. Like, what's like one of your favorites, if you want to like speak on one, like one that you really like felt like attached to, or something that really like you remember as like one of your favorites, like retelling or remembering.
So one of my favorites that's always sticks out is understanding how everything is connected and everything is one. And that's actually Guru Nanak Dev Ji. During one of their dasis, they were going through the area of Kurukshetra, which is where Mahabharata happened. I don't know if you guys know what Mahabharata is. It's where the Bhagavad Gita was written based on the Mahabharata, the war. So in that area, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was traveling through there with Bhai Mardana Ji, and there was a prince who had just been exiled from his kingdom by his father, who had just passed away, the father's ministers. It was a common thing for people close to the king to usually try to take over after the king passes away. So the ministers exiled the prince. He left with his one servant, left his kingdom. Now he's in the forest or jungle of Kurukshetra, hungry. So he hunted a deer. He's carrying it on his shoulders with his one servant. He runs into Guru Nanak Dev Ji and Bhai Mardana. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji asks him, like, who are you? Where are you from? So he explains that this is my name. I've been exiled from my kingdom. My father's ministers ended up being dirty, slimy guys, and they exiled me, and I was hungry, so me and my servant just hunted this deer, and now we're about to cook it. And then he asked Guru Nanak Dev Ji, can you help? Would you guys like to help us? So Guru Nanak Dev Ji and Bhai Mardana sat with them. Now, there's really no detail about what they did, but they're with him. And this is a time of summer solstice, which is a time of fasting for Brahmins. So in the area, Kurukshetra is a very...
Brahmin means, is that a specific type of Sikhi person? Or?
No, Brahmin is a caste from Hinduism, which is the Hindu priest, basically.
Okay.
What you would call a Hindu priest.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you can excuse my ignorance.
Yeah, no, it's all
Okay.
good.
Go on, yeah.
So the Brahmins were in the area because Kurukshetra is a very prominent area where Brahmins do pilgrimages because of its historical significance. But they saw smoke and they smelled the cooking of food. So this is supposed to be a time of fasting. So now these guys get up and they're choked. These pundits, they're choked. They're like, who's cooking, not only are they cooking, they're cooking meat. And they can smell it. So they're holding their noses and they're furious and they're marching towards the smoke because they can see the smoke. So they're going towards it. Eventually they get to the place where Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Bhai Mardana, this king, and his servant are. And this part is actually written in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And the Pandits come and they're holding their nose and they're like, foo, 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 you guys are doing pop, you guys are doing sin, you guys are not only cooking, but you guys are cooking meat because Brahmins don't eat meat, they're vegetarian. So vegetarianism comes from their practice. So they're like, this is like a sin. You guys are, this is blasphemy, they're pretty much saying. And then Guru Nanak Dev Ji says this, and it's a whole part written in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And they say, Mas karamuraka chagade, gyan dhyan na jana. Korn mas, korn saag kahave, tis meh pap samane. So they're saying, you guys are yelling mas. You guys are arguing like a bunch of fools. And then he's saying korn mas, korn saag. So which is flesh and which is vegetable, and which one does not have sin in it? Meaning which one does not have life in it? So we touched on this a little bit last time after our podcast, but everything is living. The whole point of the fridge and the freezer is to keep food alive, because once food dies, we cannot eat it. It becomes poisonous. Vegetables rot, meat rots, everything rots, goes bad. That's when it dies. Everything is living up until then. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji is asking them, and then he's telling them, like, you guys are arguing like fools, but you guys don't know anything about spiritual wisdom or knowledge. You guys are arguing about this. Then Guru Nanak Dev Ji goes to explain to them that even when you're drinking milk from your mother's breast, that you are partaking in flesh, because there's living organisms. We've all done the high school microscope thing where we see living organisms. So in water, in food, in everything, vegetables, everything, there is living organisms. Everything is living. And Gurbani also says that. So in Asandivar, it says, Jiya ka ahar ji, which when it's translated in depth means we are only living because living beings are going into us to give us more life.
Wow.
So you eat meat, right? You do.
I'm not vegetarian.
You're not vegetarian. Why did
Yes.
you answer like that?
Well, I don't eat everything, but
Yeah.
I'm not vegetarian.
Okay, and it's funny because people looking at you with the way you look, they're gonna say, and you say that you're not a vegetarian. The funny thing to me is the reaction and emotions that are against you are the same if you sat there and you said you do psychedelics.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny because it's kind of, it's, because, Mindy on the first podcast we recorded was talking about how growing up, he had to hide to eat McDonald's.
Yeah.
And when he got caught one time.
It was a big deal.
And it was like, if they ate like McDonald's, they'd go to some like alleyway and like
Hide
look
it.
around and like eat like that. Your parents weren't like that, were that
No.
religious, right? So
No.
you were able to eat non-veg in public.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, that's a really beautiful story, by the way. Thanks for sharing that. Not a lot of emotion hearing it. You're a very good storyteller, I must say.
Yeah. You need to be on Audible.
So it was great though. Like I could really envision everything,
Yeah.
the smoke, everything. So with Soma, you mentioned that it is a psychedelic. You also mentioned that no one knows what it is. You also mentioned that there was a man who did a study on this to look into it. I couldn't find that. What I did find was a man who was a Caucasian who went to, I believe I want to say India. It was it was like a BBC documentary or something. I think it's the same one you saw.
No, I've seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he went into these random like really basic villages, and he asked for Soma, and then these, they were like, they weren't Punjabi people, but they were some sort of brown people, and they were like, oh, Soma, oh wow, you want Soma, eh? Like, kind of like, all right, hey, let's go, this guy's getting. So then he like they all described it as some brown like sort of dried up plant of some sort that from what he described the feeling of it as like a very much more of a stimulant, less like a psychedelic. So with that, I ask you, is Soma a psychedelic, or is Soma an unknown, or is Soma whatever this guy tried that time?
So the last podcast, what I was saying is Soma so psychedelics is a class. It's a class of wide
which cannabis is under as well.
Yeah. So Soma is considered in the class of psychedelics, according to this research that this person did. And it wasn't just him. So there was a panel of researchers. And what this one person out of that panel, what he stated resonated with me most. So what he was saying was people were trying to specify Soma as being one plant or substance. What he said was, I don't think it's just one. I think it could be any one of these used, because they're all used in that area where the text was written, and all of them can take you on a journey similar to a psychedelic experience, which could be very profound and give people a heightened sense of awareness, consciousness, spirituality, help change their life. So it wasn't one particular plant medicine. He was saying it's the class. Like he kind of put it all under the umbrella of psychedelics.
But it seems to me that many people will disagree with you on this.
People will definitely disagree. And I never said that's definitely what it is. I just really resonated with his perspective because I myself have a very open universal perspective. And I agree that it could be any one of those things. It could be ephedra, it could be opium, it could be cannabis, it could be psilocybin, it could be Amanita muscaria. So many different, and there's probably so many that I even left out.
It sounds like DMT. Like the whole psychedelic thing, it sounds
like
a lot.
To me, absolutely.
Yeah,
it seems like it's a form of DMT.
Yeah.
But for the people that will be deniers of that claim and against what you're saying here, what do they think Soma is?
I have no idea.
Like what is the common consensus in general that are
There is no common consensus.
for Punjabi, Sikhi, Amritari people?
Nothing.
Okay.
A lot of people don't even know what Soma is.
And
Because
is it only like
It comes from an ancient text, a Sanatan text.
Okay, so it's not
so
mentioned.
it's only found in one place in the world. Like I don't know too much about this.
Well, the text is from India.
But like the Soma thing is only found like in one place. Like
Well, it's
we
just
don't
in
know.
that. It's just in that area.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
like where the text was written, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay, you mentioned we mentioned the tattoos, we mentioned the rings. You also dress. Is this how you would dress if I was to see you out on the street, or would you dress like? Because it seems to be not like a t-shirt and hoodie type of vibe. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like non-veg here or whatever I'm trying to say. I don't know how to describe it, but like you have a certain sort of way of dressing. Some people, the last podcast, and maybe it can now, especially with, what would you call the turban on your head? What would you call that? Just a turban?
it's called the dumalla.
Dumalla, yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say.
Yeah.
I've said like 10 things wrong. And the 11th one, he might walk out. So I was trying to be careful.
No, it's all
I'm just joking. So dumalla you're wearing, and you're wearing all these things. And I did ask you this last time, and I just want to clarify about that. Do you feel more fulfilled with I guess that's the better way to ask based on the context of this conversation now is it's all about fulfillment. Does that make you feel more fulfilled? Is that why you wear the dumalla and you don't cut your beard? Or is it something else because there's a lot of unconventional other things that some others would say about your like way you live with the psychedelics and things like that I'm talking about. They might say or non like eating non-veg. And then on top of that, you have this. What is the reason? And I think you said last time it's because you took Amrit. But again, couldn't someone say that you could still cut your hair and be fulfilled and things like that? So I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? I don't know if I'm asking the question well. But.
I don't even know what you're asking, bro.
Okay, well, why do you have a dumalla? Why do you wear dumalla?
Well, going back to what you just said, is because I took Amrit, and to be honest with you, I love wearing a dumalla, so I don't have to wear the malla. I can wear regular pug, like
or you could,
a thicky pug or whatever, like people wear, or I can wear a do rag, like some people wear, or I could even just do a man bun or whatever, But point being is, I love wearing a dumalla, so I wear it because I love it.
and the beard.
And the beard, I love my beard too. If
You do have a very nice beard.
If you ever
you
see
do have
me,
a very nice
You have
beard,
a
yeah.
very
if you ever
nice
see me,
beard.
I'm always showing my beard love and just caressing it all the time. I love it.
Yeah,
I
you
love
do
my
have a
beard.
nice beard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to ask you something because we recently had this conversation on the last episode, not with you, but the last one we released. It is around. There are a group of there's some people in India that kind of make some of the rules. What are they called? I don't know.
Alcohol duct.
Yeah, so most people would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's where you look for the source of truth in if you for some people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they have made some rules about weddings, okay? And there is some rules regarding that you can't do destination weddings. And what Harmol was saying was there's something about the
way they handle it,
the way they handle
transport
the,
it has to be done
what
a
did you
certain
call
way.
what did you call it, the Maharaj?
Maharaj.
Yeah. So Maharaj, you know how it's taken, and then
You
also
can't just put it in like an Under Armour bag. Like there was one video of someone doing that, and then that was a pretty big ordeal.
and then you're at a beach, and X amount of feet the other way, there's someone drinking or smoking or something. I would love to hear your thoughts on that because it is also a very trending topic amongst couples and in the Punjabi community.
Well, I think that any of our grunts should always be respected with the utmost amount of respect. Now, if we're taking it to a place like a resort where there's going to be other people, general public, who don't know anything about Sikhi, who don't know anything about Guru Granth Sahib Ji, a lot of them are just there to have a good time in vacation or whatever. They don't know what they're doing. And yes, people will take that as it's disrespectful, but the people that are just there who don't know what's happening, they're just thinking it's just a wedding. They're just living their life how they would normally live it. They don't know anything about our how we honor or how we show respect to our granths and gurus or our holy shrines. So I personally don't think, I think that there's been a lot of, I'll say, ceremonies or weddings that may have resulted with some sort of disrespect, mostly done unintentionally by the people who are just going about their business because they don't know what's happening. But like I said, it should always be done with the utmost respect. So I mean, here people also will take Maharaj Sarup to a farm or
Yeah.
a park and do it. Like I've been to friends' weddings here at a farm and it's done outside in a tent, but very respectfully. Nobody's, partying or whatever. But to be honest with you, even here at the Gurdwaras, and this is from my own personal experience because, people will get married and the party bus is in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
We just
we
talked
were
about-
talking
That's
about
exactly
this.
what we
Yeah.
talked
So
about.
Yeah.
they're not doing it right in front of Maharaj because Maharaj is inside, but
Yeah.
they're doing it outside. And I've been one of these people, so I'm not judging what
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
else
we
is doing
all have.
because
Yeah,
I've been one of those
same.
people because I didn't have the knowledge or the awareness of what I was doing, right? And I'm not gonna say it's wrong, but I think definitely we could find a better place
Yeah,
to start.
I agree.
The celebrations. And I think that people just don't have that awareness. They're not doing it intentionally. It'd be different if somebody's saying, "Oh, I don't care if Guru Granth Sahib is there. I'm opening the bottle," or if somebody's like,
Yeah.
doing it intention. It's all about intention. People just don't know. And is that their fault, or is it the fault of the people for not explaining what how they should be participating in the ceremonies or celebrating? But I can't say anybody's at fault. It's just the way things have unfolded.
So do you think though that it's fine to get married outside of a Gurdwara, like in your personal opinion? And do you think it's better to get married in a Gurdwara?
Well, I think Gurdwara is best because you hold the utmost amount of respect there. But if you can find a farm or if you can find a place that people are going to be respectful and there's nobody walking around smoking cigarettes by the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I know people that still do it. And it happens. So no, there's nothing wrong with that. If you can hold the utmost respect and be respectful and honorable, then definitely I don't see anything wrong with it.
This one is totally down the deep end, so we do not have to go there. But Gurdwaras make a lot of money. Makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Gurdwaras charge a lot of money for you to get married there. You have to almost take out a mortgage to do that, right? I'm not saying that it's all about the money, and I'm not saying it's cheaper necessarily to have it done somewhere else at a farm or something. I actually don't know. Maybe it's still expensive to have it all set up to be proper. As someone that tries to look at it objectively as well, as an outsider, because I'm not Amritari, I feel like there's a lot of these rules. There's a lot of different things. First of all, Gurdwaras, when I grew up, I went to Akali Singh Gurdwara in Vancouver. And in that Gurdwara, since the first day I ever remember of going to a Gurdwara, we ate at tables, right? But I remember hearing my parents having these conversations and family, about how this Gurdwara and this Gurdwara are fighting and beefing it with each other about tables.
Ross Gurdwara is that one. That was like the big one that did it. It's still happening every time.
About
There's
what, the tables?
The tables and and then on the ground.
Yeah. They have tables or they don't?
They have tables. Because the other Gurdwara, like close within Ross's vicinity, you sitting down.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, first of all, Gurdwara, shouldn't there be some unifying between them? Secondly, and when I say unifying, does there need to be arguments about some of this stuff? Okay. Secondly, they make a lot of money. And that money, I'm not sure, they don't have to be transparent about it. They have no obligation to. But that is just a little bit unsettling for me to think. And also, and this is in every religious figure, Christianity, could be in Sikhism, it could be in everywhere. It's not like like how many times have you heard the story of the priest in a Christian church that did all these horrible things and stuff? It's hard for me to say that everyone in a Gurdwara is perfect. I feel very uncomfortable saying that because my mom has always taught me you never say anything bad about any Gurdwara. There is no bad Gurdwara. It doesn't matter. You go to a Gurdwara, it's pure, it's bliss. But there is that still inside of me that makes me think, okay, is there full integrity with how some of the stuff is run? So I'm not really asking you a question. I'm kind of stating my observations. Do you have any thoughts on any of the stuff I've just shared? And if you want, we can cut all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's fucked up shit,
Yeah,
bro.
it is.
It's very fucked up shit.
Well,
Excuse me.
my own opinion about the tables and chairs is that Gurdwara should have both.
Yeah, I agree.
I like to sit on the ground myself just because it's a better posture when you're eating. It's better for your digestive system. But for people who can't
Yeah.
physically, because they might be elderly, they might have some sort of
Physical ailment, or they have something that just allows them not to sit on the ground. Let's just say that. There should be tables and chairs for them. And going back to integrity, I myself have experienced something which was really sad. It was a Gurdwara. There was a Gyani who was a friend of mine. He was doing katha. Didn't mention anything bad. So katha is just like discourse. So explaining one of the historical texts. Didn't say anything bad, just explained the story that was written in this text. And afterwards, the Pradhan, the president of the Gurdwara, called him into his office and said, here we only do Siddhi Katha, meaning like don't talk about this type of stuff, just talk about the general stuff that people already know. Mm.
Gyani Ji, obviously, he was being, he was obviously a lot more understanding and a lot more calm in demeanor. And he kind of just went like this to me. And so I sat there and listened. And it was just a very sad experience because I got to see for myself how they don't want the general public to learn anything that's outside of their belief system or outside of their comfort zone. It's almost a type of conditioning. So just like how the media will, tell you stories to condition you, the Gurdwaras, I feel they kind of do the same thing.
Did you feel in that moment like it felt like a business decision?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, because they didn't want any sort of uprising, or they didn't want somebody to come and kind of say what
Judge them.
Yeah,
Or, yeah.
like why are we hearing these types of things? Like we've never heard this before.
Mhm.
Where is this coming from? And he basically didn't want a problem. He just wants people to keep coming there, matha taking, being happy, joyful, whatever, listening to the regular stuff to listen to, go back home.
Yeah, I mean,
That's wild because being Sikh is being a learner, and if
Yeah.
you're learning just one way, you're not really learning, right?
I
And
think
that's going back to religion, right?
Yeah.
It's become a religion.
Mm-hmm.
They're controlling you through fear, and that's basically what it is. Because if you do this, you're going to hell. If you do this, this is pop, this is sin. If you do this, it's all
And do you think that's
fear-based control.
'cause- do you think that happened when it became more Western, or do you think that's been like ever since?
No, of course, it comes from Western influence because that's kind of religion term comes from Western
Yeah.
culture, and it's Catholicism and Christianity both were kind of made like that. They're controlling through fear tactics the people, because this is a sin, that's a sin. And when you read Gurubani, it's a lot different. And any of the Sanatan texts from the India area, it's definitely more spiritual. And even if you read a lot of the translations now, for example, I was reading a Pankti last night, and it was talking about the fear of God, and that was the translation. And that's very Western influence, in my opinion, where I don't believe God wants us to fear God. I believe God wants us to love God. God doesn't want us to fear. I believe that, like, my interpretation was that we need to overcome those fears or any fears that we have so we can actually surrender with love and faith to God. Because these two things go hand in hand. They're intertwined. There's faith, which is trust, and then there's love. So preet is love and partit is faith or trust. They both go hand in hand. I believe you can't have one without the other. It's like
yin yang.
Yeah, yin yang.
And have you, like, you brought up some of the other religions, I guess you can say. Have you looked into any of the other ones? Maybe read any of their scriptures, anything in the past? Like, have you ever explored it with anyone
So
else?
when I was actually a kid, we were born. We used to go to a church for Sunday school type of thing, and
Monne meaning, for anyone that might not know. You are not.
I used to cut my hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we got called that, by the way, in the comments.
okay. The funny thing is, like, even the term munda.
Yeah.
Like, munda means, it comes from mundan, which means to cut your hair. So that's just another interesting fact I'll share with you guys. But so going back to, we used to go to, it was like a Sunday school. It was at a Christian church, and there we used to read, I don't remember a lot of it, but we used to read the stuff. But I obviously read, I have done my own due diligence and read some stuff online. And then obviously, like, I watched a lot of UFC, and a lot of fighters would have like tattoos of like, certain
Corinthians and everything.
Matthew and like all these, Bible sermons or whatever we want to call them. So it's I feel like a lot of our translations kind of come with that influence, and there's a lot of depth to Gurbani, which I feel people aren't exploring. It's kind of like going to the beach and just looking at the water, and then there's people who will walk through it. Then there might be somebody who might just go and sit in it and connect with it, or there might be somebody that's going to swim, and there might be somebody who's going to dive into it. So there's different approaches of how we approach Gurbani as well. And I stated this last time too, how Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they stated, like, we're a drop of the ocean, and that ocean is also within us. And so that's just another analogy used as water. But going back to Guru Gobind Singh Ji says agad hai in Jap Sahib, which is their own writing, and what that means is deeper than deep. One of the meanings is deeper than deep. So that means, like, not just God, but Gurbani and everything can be deeper than deep. Like, there's been saints who have come up with multiple meanings for one word. I'll give you an example, and this is on my page. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but so ek onkar, ek meaning one, ong. So there's so many different ways to now translate this. So ek means one. Go deeper, it means there is no other. Everything is one. Okay. Then ong is like the frequency, the vibration, the primal sound that vibrates throughout the whole universe and through everything inside of us, inside plants, inside the earth, inside the moon, and everything. So then and then God, which means we're creation, like the creator. So now that can be translated as the one creator, the one sound creator, or it could also be interpreted as the one that created the sound, from where the sound came from, and then where all of creation expanded from, consciousness expanded from. And then we're going into Satanam. So Sat means truth, but then truth means what? When you go deeper, it means what exists. Truth exists. So what exists is truth. If it doesn't exist, it's false. Now, how to embody that truth, speaking the truth, living truth. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Then there's Nam. Nam comes from Nama, Sanskrit word. Nam gets translated to name. Throughout almost all of Gurbani in English, it gets translated to just name. Go deeper. Nama, the word in Sanskrit, you break it into 2 syllables. So na means no, doesn't exist, not. And amma is the beginning of a root word, which actually means disease, sickness, negativity. In Punjabi, we say rog. So nama means now it's become a state or a place, that place where there's no sickness, no disease, no negativity. Now, when you look at it in Punjabi, naam, break it into 2 syllables, naam, am means ordinary, na meaning not, no. So now it's, again, it's not name anymore or a being, it's a place. So it's a state, extraordinary state. So now Satanam can be translated to true name. It can be translated to the existence of a place, extraordinary place, or it could be translated to the existence of a true extraordinary place where there's no sickness, no disease, no negativity, which to me is like a state of bliss, or a state of contentment, or a state of peace. This is just looking at the first 2 words in Gurbani. Just giving you an example of depth.
Yeah.
No, well, you mentioned earlier about fulfillment.
Yes.
You mentioned right now about living the truth.
Yes.
And I resonate with that 100,000%. I have been, and I look back at times in my life, and without even realizing it, I was very vocal about my truth, and in corporate environments and things like that. But even in just like here now as a much more mature adult, even in this day and age, it's like these conversations we're having, it's about learning, fulfillment, and spreading what we can understand to be the truth. And I think that's where, going back to the whole conversation about Gurdwara and stuff, just to close that loop, politics is what is governing a lot of, even if the guy that you mentioned in your story, that said, hey, don't talk about this. He doesn't have a choice, does he? I don't think he has a choice, because if they start doing this stuff, as we're assuming a lot of things here, obviously, but to give him the benefit of the doubt, he cannot go out of stray away from the regular conversations, because again, like you said, it's like he was saying, business decision and all these things. This is the opposite of being truthful. Maybe it's giving him fulfillment. I don't know. We can't speak on that, but it is not the truth. And if you can't speak the truth, that's a problem. That's my thing. And that doesn't mean it, and that doesn't, I'm not saying Gurdwara or not, whatever. It's just, it's what bothers me. And I don't know. It's the small percentage of people that we did see kind of come out and speak about the previous podcast we did with you. Overwhelming support, but the small percentage of people, it seems like there are some of these people that have their belief systems, they have different things, which I'm totally okay with. But what I struggle with internally, and I sincerely mean it, I feel very uncomfortable talking about this kind of stuff. I have a cousin who grew up, spent a lot of time in the Gurdwara, and she, as a woman, she had some uncomfortable experiences at the Gurdwara from when she was left. Nothing serious, but even just the way people were looking at her, that were, what would you call them? The people that do the pots and stuff. Grantis?
Granti, or
I don't want to. Sevadar, yeah. Sevadar is like, she tells me this in confidence, right? But I'm like, damn, that's it's sad. And I'm not saying everyone is like that, but I'm also saying not everyone is perfect. And I think that, yeah, the ultimate goal should be to live an honest life. Honesty inevitably should lead to some form of fulfillment because you're not hiding things. You're not, you're not trying to run away from something that you are or you're not, right? So yeah, that's the biggest thing that resonates with me with some of the stuff you're saying. And I think in a Gurdwara or out of a Gurdwara or wherever, my grandpa was very big on, you don't need to go to the Gurdwara. It is right here in front of you right now if you want it to be. And although that's something that it wasn't something that I was taught or told, I just kind of in conversation it's come up and I'm like, I can relate to that. So yeah.
So touching on a little bit of what you said, I believe that our bodies are Gurdwara. My body is my Gurdwara, your body is your Gurdwara. And these are temples because God is within us and outside and everywhere. But the nature is also a Gurdwara. The forest is also a Gurdwara. So to me, that's my truth. But for somebody else, that might not be the truth. So truth is based on perception as well.
Absolutely. Perception is reality. Yeah.
So somebody might say, no, only a Gurdwara is a Gurdwara, like a physical building. To them, they go into the forest, they don't see the Guru there. They only see the Guru inside of a Gurdwara. That's their truth. So truth is definitely based on perception, and it could be different for people. Going back to people's experiences, traumas, and where they are in their own journey. So I'll give you my own example. I used to, I used to think that I would tell the truth a lot, but I always used to lie about something. And now, in my life, through my own healing journey, I have figured out what was causing me to do all these things. And now I can finally embody the truth that you're speaking about and be able to not only speak it, but live it. And that's a goal for everybody. It's not just us. A lot of people want to, but it just depends on where they are in their own journey.
Yes.
And it's all dependent on their own traumas, fears, and whatever they're struggling with.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that it's just the worst feeling ever when you have to not tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way that always tell the truth, even if it's going to be uncomfortable for you. Always tell the truth, even if it's going to hurt somebody else. Always tell the truth, because no matter what, truth always comes around.
Yep. You think about a lot of things, but yeah. But I think fulfillment and fulfillment is the most beautiful thing that, the way you can say it. And I think that in a religious sense, no matter what religion, I think people are looking for some sort of fulfillment too, right? And peace.
And yeah, that's what dharma is. It's I really don't resonate with religion. It's dharma is what Sikhi is. It's a dharma. And the translation to dharma is not religion, but religion can fall under it if you can find fulfillment through it.
Now, one other thing I will say with the religious context of a Gurdwara or a church or a mandir, a mosque, the other thing that I will say is a good thing about those types of places is it's not only a place of worship, but a place where community can get together. And I think there is absolutely, when there is good intention around you and good energy around you, and we've talked about plants having good energy and surviving and thriving, being around people and having that type of sangat, as we would call it in Punjabi, a community and a group of people, I think that's what a reason why religion actually came to be in a lot of different religions or dharma is to have people come together, right? It was like a place where you could, meet your family and friends and neighbors and care for one another, right? So I think that's the other benefit of going to being a part of Gurdwara or going to Gurdwaras and stuff like that, or any sort of religious place.
Yeah, a Gurdwara is supposed to be a place of learning, a place of worship, a place of connecting to divine, through yourself and through others. So it's definitely they're beautiful spaces. Some of the Gurdwara in India are just amazing. I've done a lot of pilgrimages throughout India, and some Gurdwara, when you walk into them, you can just feel the energy. It's so powerful,
I agree.
and it's so beautiful, and sometimes it can be very blissful. You go to Harmandir Sahib, it's just, you can't explain it. Like words, there's no words that will do justice. It's just they're beautiful spaces, and I agree with everything that you just said.
Did you ever trek up to the Gurdwara on the mountain? I'm forgetting the name.
Hemkund Sahib?
Have you ever?
That's my next one. No,
That one's
that's
probably
my next.
unreal.
You have to walk to it. Or
Yeah,
something?
you walk up. Yeah, it's where
How long?
I think it's like the last 4 hours or 5 hours is a trek up the mountain.
Yeah, it's
Walk.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Climbing. Climbing.
It's quite a trek. It's
Yeah.
like it's climbing.
Yeah, I think it's like 4 hours. Yeah, I could be wrong, but
I've heard it's a trek. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
difficult too for a lot of people to make it.
And you were saying though something about it. Though it's the guru that it's which
Guru Gobind Singh Ji, in their previous life, they meditated there.
in the previous life. What do you
In the
mean?
previous life, yeah.
Whoa, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
In their previous
in
life.
the previous life, yeah.
So it existed.
Before they were Guru Gobind Singh Ji, they were.
So is that like the
they were-
oldest one? You think
They
like the
were
oldest?
Dushta Daman, and yeah,
Wow. All right, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah. Our history is so rich, so amazing, so beautiful, and very, I'll say, mind opening. People will sometimes say eye opening, but it's very mind opening. So reincarnation is normal in Sikhi and Sanatan Dharma. That's what we believe in. But there's also been experiences in the Western world. You can Google it as well. I remember watching some stuff. There was a kid who used to have these very vivid dreams of him flying like a fighter jet. Ended up being he was a pilot in like World War I or II or something, and he went to like this museum, saw a picture of himself, and remembered his whole last life, like something crazy. So, there's like physical evidence now available.
That's what I feel. We have some weird attachment to World War II time. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so definitely there's like a lot of interesting stuff out there available now. That kind of, I'll say, backs up a lot of our beliefs, and a lot of the stuff that we're sharing.
I want to ask you on the topic we were talking earlier about the weddings and stuff like that. I actually hadn't thought about this. For someone that did date my one of my long-term relationships was a Caucasian woman, but again, ignorant me growing up in Coquitlam, not really even thinking too far ahead. If I understand correctly, if you are not, there's some rule about getting married. Someone had mentioned that as well, is if Sikhi is not a religion and it's not all these things. I know the answer of what we can go into all about the Gurdwara and stuff like that, but is it true that you can't marry
Outside of your religion,
outside
I
of
guess.
our outside of a like if I wanted to marry a non-Sikhi individual?
I think there are some Gurdwara that uphold that rule. I'm not sure if it's all of them. So don't quote me on any of this.
Actually, now that I think about it, though, I've been to a mandir where
Yeah.
a white girl married a brown guy, or I know of one. There's got to be a white person.
Well,
married a
I
Gurdwara.
have family members that married Caucasian women.
Yeah, I
in
don't.
Gurdwara.
It wasn't a Gurdwara. Yeah,
So,
I have one too.
I
Actually,
think
now that I
this-
think about
Yeah,
it.
I
actually,
think this
just
rule
Googled
was very
just
recently
Googled
made.
too.
If it was made, it was very recently made. Once again, you can't convert into a Sikh, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because it's not a religion. So
You're not converting, is what you're
I
saying.
think if anybody is going to get married in a Gurdwara, regardless of your ethnicity, color, you should understand what the ceremony is,
Yeah.
what the Guru is saying. And
Punjabi people don't even do that, bro.
yeah,
90% of Punjabi people that I've been to that have got married don't know shit about it.
So actually,
I'm just saying.
when I was first getting into Sikhi, it was like a conversation that was kind of making its rounds at that time. I think I even spoke to a couple about it and just explained to them like what what it means and the understanding about it. But I don't think that a lot of Gurdwara are
Uphold.
strict by that rule.
Okay.
I think it's some Gurdwara do and some don't. So, like I said, I don't think you can convert into a Sikh. A lot of people do think you can, but no, you can take Amrit and you can join the Khalsa, which isn't converting, it's joining the Khalsa, and then you live by the code and the discipline of the Khalsa.
I want to ask you specifically, yes, talking about joining the Khalsa. If, again, when I say looking at things objectively, I'm talking about somebody that you have to remove yourself from the bias that we have of being Punjabi and growing up in Sikhi households. On an airplane, there are security measures that are taken. We won't get into the whole like certain levels of security, maybe it's too much, the water thing and all that stuff. I don't know. It's interesting to me. However, you can't take a weapon onto the plane. It doesn't matter if you're white, you're black, you're brown, or you're Chinese. You carry a kirpan. If you were to go on an airplane and you're asked to check it, are you comfortable with that? And whether you are or aren't, what do you feel? How do you feel about other people that are not comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with it. I do it all the time. I do ardas when I, take it off, and I'm very comfortable with checking it in. I have no issues with it. People that aren't comfortable with it, I don't know. I can't say anything about them, but I am comfortable with it. I wear my kakaras, which is just it's just a smaller miniature version, which isn't sharp. So
When you go traveling?
yeah, and I wear it on my necklace. So
And you can take that on the plane?
yeah, it's just they just look like pendants on a necklace.
Okay.
So they're just kakars. They still represent the same thing. They're still
Okay.
made of metal, and it's still the same thing, but they're just not sharp. And so I still carry them with me at all times. And I can't speak for anybody else who's not comfortable. So that's where I stand with that.
Objectively, again, some people will just say, why are you trying to bring a weapon on the plane? Give it a break, check it in, right? The other thing, you mentioned that it's joining Khalsa, and it is warriors. Sikh people were warriors.
Yes.
And if you look at it in that sense, it makes sense. There's a uniform essentially to it, and that includes the kirpan. In 2026, let's say I do want to go to the all in, surrender and go all in and become Amritari. I am not joining an army at this moment. Like by definition, I'm not about to go to war or whatever. Do we need it to be the way it was then? Because in so many ways, times have changed. I don't mean any offense to you in any way with this question, but I think it is a question that a lot of people that are not Punjabi would want to know, and even for people that are not Amritari may want to know. And not only that, was it in this last episode that we talked about this, or we talked about it maybe another time, me and you? The Khanda is actually not the actual logo or whatever you want to say, symbol of Sikhism. It was something that was after colonization. Is that yeah? But even the khanda, which is the symbol of Sikhi, it is two swords, right? And again, from the outside, if people want to be racist or be stereotype a group of people, and it doesn't help that a lot of Punjabi people are doing a lot of horrible things around our city right now. There's a lot of stuff going on and has been happening over the years. But I'm not joining an army today. Is there a need for me to be? Can I join Khalsa and not join, and not do that kind of stuff? So what are your thoughts on that?
So you're still joining an army, even though it's not like
You're going to war tomorrow.
technical army. So the way I'll explain it is, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in the war. So when you're joining the Khalsa, you also want to learn how to defend yourself and your family or any person who needs help. So during the Guru's time, they used to provide all that training. There was weapons training, there was wrestling, there was grappling, there was hand-to-hand combat, there was everything. Weapons training included pistols and rifles as well, because during the Guru's times there was pistols and rifles there as well. So now when you join the Khalsa, that's up to you as your own personal discipline, what you want to learn and how you want to uphold your own discipline. So me, I practiced mixed martial arts before. I also practiced Shastra Vidya and weapons training and many other things. But when you join the Khalsa, you have to remain tayar bar tayar, which means always ready for anything at any given moment. That's more of a mindset than it is like a physical thing. But now what you want to carry on you is your own personal preference. So the knife is just mandatory, which any army around the world, every soldier always has a knife, regardless if they have rifles, pistols, whatever on them. They'll always still have a knife. But for us, it wasn't a knife originally. It was a sword. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji actually gave swords. But Guru Gobind Singh Ji also said, when you come to see me, I am most happy when I see my Singhs coming fully strapped, like head to toe with weapons. Like the waistband, the kamarkasa, would be full. So they'd have like multiple knives, daggers, swords, rifles hung on their back, bows, arrows. Like these guys, they were full. And you can see some pictures. If you pull up pictures on Google, you can see Singhs, even from the early 1900s, 1800s, and black and white pictures. You can see like even their dumalla were like this tall, and they had like 30 chakkars. I have one. They would have like 30, 20, whatever,
And chakkar is the silver.
Yes.
And okay, what is that for?
Throwing.
Throwing.
Yeah. So there was many. It was completely different. Obviously, things have changed now. It's 2026, but you still want to always be ready for anything at any time. Because, for example, somebody gets into a car accident, car catches on fire, and there's somebody inside of it. I would try my best to try to get that person out. I'm not saying you have to, but I would. And in order for me to do that, it's important for me to have a knife so I can cut the seatbelt if the person is still wearing the seatbelt in a burning car.
You would, but I don't know if every single Amritari person has done that stuff, because we'd hear 100 stories every day.
Of course. But not everybody is also experiencing these types of things. It's just a mindset, like I said, right? It's a mindset. So it's just always trying to be as ready as you possibly and physically can to just be of service.
If I wanted to be Amritari, could I carry a Swiss Army knife in my pocket, or that still wouldn't be?
Well, according to the religious people, you can't.
Okay.
But you can always carry that regardless. And, for me, I carry that and microphone. So you just...
Well,
It's-
having like a Swiss Army knife, I understand. Like having
useful tool.
It's
yeah, it's a
useful.
very
useful tool.
useful
Yeah,
tool.
so it's
Yeah.
your own
Like
personal
I
preference.
get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I
with
always
that
have
part.
that and my kirpan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was told that the what is it called on the
Chakar.
chakra is for if someone was to try and like hit you in the
Yeah,
head.
that's what I thought it was for.
If
It's
like
it's like a
someone tries
defense,
to like hit you with a sword on your head.
kind of like armor.
I'll
I
send you
guess
guys a
you'd say.
Google video actually of my teacher. Yeah, he does like a demonstration of throwing it. It's pretty
And
cool.
like
He
hurt
cut-
and like
yeah,
has
he
defense.
like cuts like bamboo trees and stuff.
Okay,
Damn.
couldn't you? Any other argument made about Khalsa joining Khalsa for people that are spiritual and Sikhi and following a spiritual path would be that before Guru Gobind Singh Ji, there was no all of this, right?
Yeah.
And some would say, well, you're choosing what you want to go with here, which again, fulfillment, all this stuff. But you're choosing, okay, well, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, specifically his stuff said this, and all the new stuff is this, and things like that. Could you, like, Guru Nanak Dev Ji had no intention when he started that you would need to be wearing all this stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
So Guru Nanak Dev Ji actually mentioned the creation of the Khalsa. They also, it wasn't just from Guru Gobind Singh Ji. The army actually started from Guru Har Gobind, who was the sixth Guru. And he started it. It wasn't called Khalsa then. There was no initiation with Amrit. It was the Akal Sena at that time, which just meant God's army. And that's where the Sikh army actually started from. And Guru Har Gobind, I'll actually send you one of my friends' podcasts, Dr. Jawala Singh. He does a podcast on Suraj Prakash Granth, which is one of our historical texts, and it's in English, and they're small episodes, like kind of like snippets, like 10, 12 minutes long, but he goes over all the important historical stuff that's written in these texts in English, so you can actually learn and hear about the Guru's stories and how Guru Har Gobind created this army and how they even hired all sorts of kind of people to come and join the army. Yeah.
But Guru Nanak Dev Ji, you said he did mention it?
He mentioned the creation of it. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that he does. I've never heard that. Did you? You heard
Actually, no, I didn't know that.
that? Yeah.
There's a lot. I go back to what I stated earlier. Our history is so beautiful, so rich, so amazing, so much to learn if you can just open your mind and be ready to dive into it.
There was someone that also brought up how if Sikhi is truly about seva and giving and a lot of these beautiful things, which it absolutely is, and you can see it in our community, why has it not spread like wildfire throughout India over the years and beyond? And I will say I have seen, shout out to some of the people that did follow us and watch that episode, that seem to be not of Indian descent that have converted. There were actually, I think there was someone that was from South America that had converted. Not converted, but joined Khalsa or have taken the Sikh way of living. And there are people. However, it hasn't. Now I have my ideas of why, but yeah, why do you think, do you have any thoughts on that there was no, like it didn't spread, it's not spreading. And I know, again, Sikhi is also not meant to tell other people to join Khalsa or to, follow Sikhi, which every other religion, I think Christian and Muslim or Islam for sure is all about their duty to tell you to join their belief system. I don't know about some of the other religions, but definitely it is not at all a part of Sikhi. So that's part of it too. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are there have been Muslims in our history that were Sikhs of the Guru, but they were never converted because there's no such thing as converting into a Sikh. But for example, the very first brick of Harmandir Sahib was laid by a Muslim. And there was also...
Why is that? How did that end up happening?
He was a very saintly, he was a very respected saint in the area. So the Guru asked him to lay the first brick of the foundation. And he was Muslim. And
everyone, you knew that. Interesting.
and so there was also by Nabi Khan Ghani Khan who carried Guru Gobind Singh Ji on like their shoulders from um, Machiwada, and they protected him because the authorities were looking for him at the time. This was after the war of Anandpur Sahib, and the Shah Sahibzade had become Shaheed, and they were Muslims, so they carried him and dressed him up like a Muslim saint, carried him on his shoulder up to Dina Kangar, where he wrote the Zafarnama, and that Nabi Khan Ghani Khan never converted, but they were still very respected Sikhs of the Guru up until today because of their service and what they did. They risked their lives to protect Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and that's a very honorable act. And so once again, it's not a religion. We don't forcefully convert people, but going back to what you said, there have been millions of people from around the globe who have joined Khalsa, Caucasian and other ethnicities as well. I've seen
Akali Singh always had the Caucasian guy.
He actually spoke in my school too. That guy.
Yeah, is he still around? I don't know.
I haven't seen him in a long time, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
So-
learned a lot from him.
I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, they converted because it's become a religion. But no, they didn't convert. It's not a religion. I believe they just joined the Khalsa. And that's my take. And now they're living by the code of the Khalsa and the Sikhi way of life, which is learning every day. And a lot of the people who have taken Amrit would resonate with that.
Was Guru Nanak Dev Ji a Muslim and a Hindu? Was that? I've heard a little bit about that, or his mom was something and his dad or something, or was he? We obviously know that he went a lot of places. He had no shame and no was not afraid to go to any other place of religion. But yeah,
So I'll touch on something from what you mentioned. Hindu isn't a religion. The Hindu term actually comes from the Muslims. So when the Muslims used to come and invade the area of India, this was actually going back to like the Turk times when the Turks and the Ottoman Empire, when they would come, even before them, the Persians, when they came to invade India, they couldn't. So they were called the Indus value, in this civilization. They couldn't pronounce the I, so they added a H in front of it and started calling them Hindus. And that's where the term actually comes from, and you can Google that yourself. So there's no such thing as Hinduism. It's not a religion. The actual dharma is called Sanatan Dharma, which means eternal, original from the beginning. Just so share that with you guys. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji was born into what people today would call a Hindu family. And I think I shared this with you on the last podcast. Part of their tradition is when the boy gets to a certain age, he wears this string called a janu. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji didn't put it on forcefully. And we shared that last time.
do you think Guru Nanak Dev Ji? He was obviously very enlightened. Do you think he took any sort of psychedelics?
I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji was a psychedelic.
That's the best way you could have answered that.
I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji was enlightenment, love, and wisdom, and everything. I think they didn't even need to eat. I think they were very, just a very divine being.
We talked about this on the last episode as well, that we just released. It seems like in the paintings, he's made to look a certain way. Actually, all the gurus have their own. Guru Nanak Dev Ji definitely looks very light skin tone. Do you believe in the way that we picture him? There was one main painter that kind of decided what the paintings would look like. Do you believe that that is how Guru Nanak Dev Ji looked, or do you think Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Not that it matters. I'm just curious. Yeah, I think it's
I mean, anybody can have their perception about this, but from my perception, I believe that Guru Nanak Dev Ji probably wasn't the lightest skin, like how Soba Singh portrays in his paintings. I believe he was definitely probably on the darker, not dark, but darker side, just because they walked for Adasis around the world. And there was obviously a hotter area, the area of India and those places. But, they could have just been like us, who got, light in the winter and dark in the summertime. So, but they also, what a lot of people also don't know, Guru Nanak Dev Ji used to wear a topi.
Like a hat.
Yeah, called a Seli topi,
Mm-hmm.
which was given from Guru Nanak Dev Ji to Guru Angad Dev Ji all the way up until Guru Har Gobind Singh Ji. So when the Guruship, the ceremony of Guruship was done, the previous Guru would give Guru Nanak Dev Ji Seli topi to the new Guru. They would put a tilak on their forehead, and there was like a whole ceremony with like a coconut and water and all sorts of stuff happening. And this is written in our historical text. And there are actually paintings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji wearing this topi. It's like a hat that Sufis used to wear. It's called a Seli topi. And they also used to have a robe that was gifted to them by Sufi saints, I believe, from the Mecca area, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But they did wear a robe that was inscribed with like Persian inscriptions, possibly even from the Quran. They used to wear this robe that was gifted to them.
Yeah, I asked because maybe I was going to say maybe they didn't want us to know, or he didn't want us to know what he actually looked like. That's why I was also asking. I don't know if you think there's any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I think
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it's just more about understanding their message and what they wanted us to kind of connect to, or maybe accomplish, finding fulfillment.
Whew. That's deep, as I said last time. And do you go to the Gurdwara pretty often?
Not that often.
No.
No.
Okay. Why is that?
My home is my Gurdwara.
Okay. Your body is your Gurdwara.
Yes.
So good. So true. We should treat our bodies like that.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
it is a blessing.
Absolutely. It is. So it's about understanding our bodies, connecting to it. And this goes back to how I mentioned Ayurveda on the last podcast as well. Understanding elements, our diet should reflect that. I mean, a lot of people want to believe that they're only allowed to be vegetarian, but that might not be what's in their best interest health-wise. And that's just about understanding your body and really connecting to it so you can keep it in balance. Understanding your elements. Like you guys have heard of garam food and thanda, right? So like your parents will be like, oh, aaj cheez thandi or aaj cheez garama. So in the summertime, you usually want to refrain from eating too many garam cheejan because what used to happen to me is nosebleeds. And some other people have experienced that as well, but it can also, that will also lead to inflammation.
Yeah.
And in the winter, you want to eat garam cheejan because it'll keep you warm. And in the summertime, you want to eat more thandi cheejan because it'll keep you cool. So these types of things, your diet should reflect also the seasons, which is natural. That's why eating fruit in the wintertime makes no sense, but it's available in every grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not good because it's making you cooler and you're already cold in the wintertime. So that's not going to reflect well with your health. And the same thing in the summertime. You shouldn't be eating garam cheeja. And this is just understanding your body and your reflecting, your diet reflecting that understanding.
On the last episode, and in this episode too, you mentioned a little bit about how God made God, it came from God. God made this. Now, God also made things that are poisonous, that can harm you, that are naturally made. Yes, I agree with you when you mention, like, obviously drugs are made in a lab. Plant medicine is completely different. Um, as someone currently, like, I don't drink alcohol much at all. I never really drank much in the beginning, in the first place, but definitely barely drink it now. And I do view alcohol more and more as I have seen what kind of horrible things it can do to some people that abuse it. Which again, a lot of other things can be abused, including food and all these things. But in our community, especially, what alcohol has done to so many families, women, men, and people affected by it. That's one example of something that is, in your words, natural. And I, it is, I didn't view it as that. And now when you said it, I'm like, okay, fine, maybe you're right that it is from God. But I am curious what your thoughts are in general. And I'm not talking about just alcohol. I'm talking about just anything. There's a lot of things that God has put on this planet that if I ate this right now and it's poisonous, God made that, and I could be completely, I could completely die from that immediately. So where do you draw that line? And, what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure you've thought about that.
So my perception is everything has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. Every plant, every medicine, every living thing has a purpose. We draw our own lines based on what works for us. Okay. There are some people who have one drink or two drinks every night, every single night, their whole life for who knows how many years. I've seen like some of my friends' grandparents and stuff like that. That's all they have. They won't have more. They won't have less. They're disciplined. They'll have one or two every night before they go to bed. Live perfectly fine. Nothing bad about that. And now I'm not saying you should do that. I'm not saying that anybody should do that, but I'm saying that for them, it serves its purpose, whatever it does for them. I don't know what that is. I don't do that. And I'm not saying anybody else should do that. But the line gets drawn on what doesn't work for you. Now, alcohol abuse becomes a problem because of escapism. Any kind of abuse is usually due to a form of escapism, whether that's social media abuse, whether that's substance abuse. Anything can be used as a form of escape. Even doing pot can become a form of escape. It's a better option than some other options, obviously, because it will still provide you with enlightenment, some sort of wisdom. So it's a way better option, but it's still not tackling the underlying issue, which is what you're escaping.
But not everything that's God, you said everything has a purpose. So some things were designed for us to not eat.
Absolutely. So,
or touch.
Yeah, there's things that are edible and there's things that aren't edible. So if it's not edible,
kind of like a balance. There has to be a balance for everything.
It's a balance. Just like you said earlier, yin yang.
Yeah.
So some things aren't edible, but they still serve a purpose. That's not for us to ingest, but it has its purpose.
You said everything has a purpose, everything's alive?
Yes.
Do you think water is alive?
I do.
This is my last question for you, but water can retain information. When you say alive, is that what you mean? Or do you mean even deeper than that it's alive? Because it's not breathing, but you say it's conscious.
How do you know it's not breathing?
Is that what evaporation? Okay. So you think it's alive, just like I'm alive?
Yeah, I do.
I am 70% water.
You are.
I ask you this because
You're also breathing.
I ask you this because I absolutely believe that. And the water that we drink today that comes from our taps, albeit in Vancouver, some of the best water you can have from your tap, probably anywhere else in the world, than anywhere else in the world. However, this water is not happy because it's gone from a free-flowing state to suddenly being trapped in pipes and, you know, all these things and pressured. And it goes, and water is meant to move a certain way. And when it's moving all these different directions and then comes out of our tap, it's quite traumatized. However, the same water that I'm drinking right now is the same exact water that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would have drank if he drank water, because you said he didn't eat much, or he didn't need to. But any dinosaur, anything in history, water was the first thing. It remembers everything. It knows more. I look at trees and I look, wow, this tree's been here for 100 years. Look at all the things it's seen at its height around the city or whatever before it gets cut down. I now see the same thing in water. And we were talking about this just earlier off the camera, but like when you give love to water, it can give you love back. And I was talking about how when I love going to the Gurdwara. I know we mentioned some things about Gurdwara in this conversation today. I told you I sincerely feel uncomfortable talking about some of the conversations we had about the Gurdwaras today. But at the same time, going to the Gurdwara, I feel peace. I feel the bliss like you mentioned earlier, but also the food there. And even if the roti or whatever was cooked like 3 hours ago and in a normal context, it wouldn't be served in a restaurant, it still tastes like amazing. And I just made the connection too that, you know, that langar is, what do they call it when because it's been blessed, right?
Yeah, bog.
Is it, so when you eat that, so I always love it. So I just made the connection of that too, that like obviously food can be blessed and when you eat it. And some people, even Christians and stuff, they'll give thanks to the food before they eat it. Search it up, folks. Water is alive. Is water alive? We'll save that for another episode because I definitely want to talk about that. But it kind of touches to what you're saying, that everything serves a purpose and everything has a purpose, has meaning. And I think it's even deeper than that, that humans, we talked about water and it being alive and whatever. The sad reality is humans who have all these capabilities at their fingertips, some of them have not found their purpose in life. And if this man here says everything has purpose, even like anything, obviously as humans, we have purpose. And I think that for those people who have struggled to find it and things like that, you know, do something and you'll feel something. And I dream of a world in the near future that some of these things are not going to be weird conversations. It's going to be common knowledge. And then I don't know what the podcast would be about anymore. Maybe this podcast wouldn't have to exist anymore. That would be the dream. But Raj, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for the great wisdom you shared. There's not everything that we're going to agree on for every single specific topic, but you do bring a very, very intellectual perspective to so many different questions that we've had. And I wish you nothing but a very fulfilling week ahead of you and months ahead until we meet again in this same setting, because I'm sure we will be chatting with you again. There's like, I think 5 different topics that we have to cover.
Yeah.
That have a podcast of their own. But thank you so much. And once again, if you are first time listening to us today, this is Raj, also known as sikhadelic.healing on Instagram. And yeah, we want to have more. We're going to have more conversations like this in the future with many different types of people. We have had lots of conversations like this in our previous episodes around spirituality and the legal healthcare system here in Canada, and how people have actually gotten some great benefit through the legal system, through Health Canada, with the help of psychedelics and things like that. We didn't mention it, but is isn't ketamine made in a lab? We'll cut that. We'll ask you later. Okay. Anyways, thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you guys again.
Thank you for having me.
You are multiple
Again.
people, Tusi, and multiple. You are me, I am you. There you go.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
But yeah, thank you for having me again, and I want to thank you guys as well for the amazing work you guys are doing. Helping spread awareness to this subject of how people can get help in other ways. I really love the podcast about our brother there who survived cancer, the brain.
Steve Allgood.
Steve
Yeah.
Allgood,
And I really enjoyed his podcast, and it probably would give a lot of people who have lost hope in a similar situation. So I feel that you guys are doing amazing work as well, and want to thank you guys for that, and keep doing what you guys are doing. Keep up the great work.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you guys. Thanks for all the support.